Okay, looks like recording has started, so we will go ahead and kick off. We've got quite a bit of content to get through today, so we don't want to waste any time. Thank you everyone who has joined so far. Welcome to our session today. My name is Harry Jack. I'm a Modern Work Customer Success Manager supporting customers in the Northwestern US. And with me today, I have my partner Minerva, who is also a Modern Work Customer Success Manager supporting Central. So today we just wanted to get some information together and talk at a high level about frontline workers, and specifically frontline workers in government, because that's the space that we're all working in. Today is going to be a little bit of a high level. We're really going to focus on what frontline workers are, what are some of the challenges that they face working in a remote sort of hybrid world, and how teams can sort of alleviate some of those concerns, or what are some of the features in teams that can be utilized to assist frontline workers. Of course, there's going to be plenty of questions that come up throughout this session. So if you do have questions, please feel free to put those into the chat of the meeting that we're currently in. Microphones and cameras will be disabled throughout the session just to limit distractions, especially because we do have a lot of content to get through. But again, feel free to put those questions in the chat and we will either answer them sort of as they come up, or if we have time at the end, we'll go through and answer questions as well. In addition, if you do want to learn more about any of the stuff that we're going to go through today, please feel free to reach out to the customer success manager that supports your state, or another Microsoft representative that you've been working with, and they can put you in touch with the customer success manager so that you can be supported by the person who's dedicated to your state and sort of knows the environment better than anybody else over here at Microsoft. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and kick off. Like I said, today we're going to talk about how Microsoft Teams can help your organization or your government agency transform to support frontline workers. We've got a couple different topics that we're going to be going through today. We're going to talk about, who are frontline workers? What do we mean when we say frontline workers? What are some of those challenges that the frontline workers are facing? And then we're going to talk about how teams can help, and, what's in it for frontline workers in some instances, what's in it for management or leadership, and we'll also kind of have some example use cases thrown in there as well. So at this point, in order to save bandwidth for everybody and just make sure that no computers crash or anything, we're going to turn off our cameras, but I promise Minerva and I are still here. So let's go ahead and kick off with our sort of first topic on the introduction, and that's frontline workers. What are frontline workers? So their definition is really those individuals that are in service or task-oriented roles. So for example, social workers, police officers, transportation workers, public works, really anyone that's out there on the front line, hence the name frontline workers. They typically work in shifts, and they also often compose a majority of the workforce, and are the first to engage with customers or engage with the public. They're also typically the first people who are going to see products and services in action, and they're also the first people to represent government agencies to sort of the public constituents. So we've got a couple examples and images as well of frontline workers up here. In addition, frontline workers account for nearly 40% of unused licenses across our state and local government customers. So 40% of the licenses that are purchased and are assigned to people that are in frontline worker roles are being underutilized or not being utilized at all, which is one of the reasons why we identified that this call would be important, and the focus on frontline workers would be important as we continue to develop in hybrid work and trying to make sure that everyone is able to do their work in this sort of new way, that we are supporting those frontline workers as best as possible. So I'm going to pass it over now to Minerva to talk through a couple things.
Perfect. Thank you, Harry, and welcome everybody again. So there are a lot of different challenges that frontline workers face, and they are varied as the job that those frontline workers perform. We want to, though, be consistent and see, or we consistently see that challenges present for frontline workers across government agencies. And we're going to take a look at a couple of those different challenges. So one, our frontline workers are feeling disconnected from the workplace, seeing their team members, getting messages, and also just accessing different information for them to be more productive. We see a lot of manual processes still being used today in a lot of different organizations, and also outdated digital tools. That's going to definitely hinder our efficiency in being productive. Inefficient onboarding and low retention. Organizations face challenges with onboarding, training, and retaining that talent within their workforce. Lack of purpose built devices. We see that workforces are the individuals that have to use multiple devices and workarounds to complete different tasks. And then lastly, staying protected and compliant. This is the uneven security practices, outdated IT, and again, we are going to see an increase in that risk. Now, looking at the next steps that we can do, frontline workers, what they experience, what we want them to experience is, connect your workforce. We want them to be able to connect our teams with one hub. So that is a centralized platform for them to use and not have many different places that they need to go to. From a foundational team communication with one-to-ones, one-to-many chats, video calls, to meet the needs for instant communication. There's also walkie-talkies that help workers walk, talk, and multitask efficiently. We also manage shift schedules more seamlessly. Shifts is a simple schedule experience backed by the workforce management tools. And already we see a lot of organizations that are using Chronos and Blue Yonder. That's an integration with our shifts. We want to be able to simplify the task management process. And here we can utilize tasks within teams that helps frontline workers stay on top of task. And again, one centralized hub. We want to be able to activate and engage our community. We want to get tools to do everything from creating custom praise badges to show recognition your way or sharing corporate-wide news and announcements with company communicator. Create a customized role-based user experience. Give your team exactly what they need to do their job and nothing more to distract them. Customize their experience in an admin center to provide the right tools and make Teams your central hub, that central platform for line of business workflows. And then last, looking at that safeguard teamwork without hampering productivity. We want to be able to keep your team's productivity without the worry of information being stored outside the company's control. Teams will be able to provide the same enterprise level security, compliance, and manageability of all the rest of your Microsoft 365. Now, here are some examples of challenges that arise from some disconnected workforce. We see difficulty communicating with colleagues, challenges accessing important information, and trouble lining on project goals and getting support. Here are a few ways that can help. Share rich information in chat to communicate efficiently. Teams is more than just sharing messages with chat. Here, we can grab the attention of your frontline team by utilizing the smart camera to capture and annotate and share an image with your team. We have an inline translation to communicate across languages. We alert team members with urgent and priority notifications. And this is something that's very similar. We are utilizing Outlook. We see some of those exact same wonderful features within our Teams platform. And we're also deliver instructions in an audio message. Communicate quickly and easily by recording and sharing an audio message for on-demand listening. Now, communicate efficiently with specific audiences. Reach the right people, create tags, and organize users by role, location, or the shifts they work. They send group messages to tag users or bring attention to a channel post by an @ mention with the tag name. That @ mention is one of the best practices to get notification and for someone to see it fast. Also, you can share and target communities for a large scale audience with announcements for crisis communication. Now, one of the challenges that we see frontline workers have is carrying multiple devices that make the workers' experience very fragmented and complex. Analog devices can be faulty and often lack security and range. A solution that Microsoft has within your Teams platform is walkie-talkie. It's a push-to-talk experience, enables clear, instant, and secure voice communication over the cloud. Turn in employee or company-owned smartphones and tablets into a walkie-talkie with the pre-configured channels to set to have for the right conversation with the right people. This native built-in app within your Teams platform is going to reduce the number of devices employees must carry and helps lower cost for IT. You can also connect those in the field to experts across your organization, keeping that employee experience. We're able to communicate with the walkie-talkie across locations and geographics, and no need to worry about crosstalk or eavesdropping from outsiders. The limited range of radio, walkie-talkie works over both Wi-Fi and cellular data. Now, looking at how, we can connect your workforce, we have share rich information to communicate quickly, communicate efficiently with specific audiences, and be hands-free and heads up with push-to-talk communication. Teams can help connect your workforce by sharing files in chats, smart camera with annotate and share, and audio and video recording. And we're able to do this in a lot of different ways within our Teams platform. There's multiple channels for communication. Again, that one-to-one, that one-to-many group chats, and also supports integrations like ServiceNow and Workday. And again, just lastly, looking at that walkie-talkie experience. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just hand this over back to Harry.
Awesome, thanks Minerva. I'm gonna sort of continue the trend that Minerva was on and talk about some of those challenges that we've identified, drilling into those a little bit. And then those solutions that are available in Teams to help us sort of combat those challenges. So the next thing that we had in the challenges that we were looking at earlier was manual processes. And when we look a little bit closer at manual processes, one of the ones that pops up pretty frequently is manual shift management, that being a real challenge. And the reasons for that are fairly clear. If you have an old antiquated way of creating and distributing schedules, it can be cumbersome. It can be difficult for people to be able to know the most up-to-date schedule. It can be difficult for people to switch shifts or to maybe see what their schedule is when they're not at work. They could take a picture of it, but who knows if that's been changed since they took that picture. And even the clocking in and clocking out process can be inconvenient, a little bit inconsistent, especially with these manual processes where those frontline workers would have to return to a central hub to make sure that they're clocking in or clocking out. So what's Teams going to help us do for these sort of manual time management, shift management processes? Well, we have shifts. So shifts, which can be integrated with workforce management systems like Kronos and Blue Yonder, is a schedule management tool that's going to help with creating, updating, and managing schedules for the team. Now, for the sort of management perspective, creating those schedules from scratch or importing them from an Excel sheet is something you're able to do within Microsoft Shifts. And those shifts are going to be displayed within Microsoft Teams. So people are always going to be able to see those schedules on the go. It can also be managed on the go. And there's functionality built in for the users to be able to go in and request swaps for shifts, to be able to submit for time off requests. The management can also even submit open shifts that people can then go in and sort of fill those shifts as they want to pick those extra shifts up. So you have this tool built into Microsoft Teams that's going to take all of those manual processes and all of those sort of like hard copy processes, paper schedules, clocking in and out with a punch clock, and moving them into this digital space. You can also go into more details with shifts, and you can add things like day notes to the top of a day. So that way, which we can kind of see right here, where we can add a specific note for a day if there's anything in particular. We can also name groups within shifts. So we can create groups like they've got cashiers right here, but we could have, electrical inspectors and things like that, and group our employees within those sort of shift groups. We already talked about, being able to request time off or request swap shifts as well here. And we mentioned being able to import shifts from Excel. We can also go in and export shifts if we wanted to sort of export the schedule into Excel for whatever reason. Now, that's sort of the management side that we saw previously. Here on the frontline side, our frontline workers are then going to be empowered to really own their schedules and be able to use those self-service tools right there from their phone, like we're seeing in the images here, being able to view their schedule within Teams, being able to request time off, swap or offer to swap shifts, and set their availability all from that sort of mobile phone. They can also go in and grab those open shifts so frontline workers can go in and fill their schedule as needed if that's part of their current role. In addition to that, we've got time clock. So tracking time and attendance also goes virtual with shifts, where we have the ability to clock in and clock out from those mobile devices. And managers can also set up time clocks with geodetection, which is pretty cool. It basically means that someone is only able to clock in or clock out from a designated work site. So that can be enabled on the management side. And in addition to that, something that we'll talk a little bit about later, the sort of shift management, whenever you're actually currently working, you can set up capabilities where people won't be able to access company resources when they're not clocked in. So pretty cool little functionality there. So just to sort of summarize what we went through in terms of helping with the manual process of shift management, Teams and specifically shifts can help save managers time with digital and mobile scheduling tools, empower those frontline workers to own their schedules with self-service tools, and we have tools to be able to track time and attendance. All of that time and attendance can also be exported for whatever purposes may be needed. Now, still on the sort of trend of manual processes, the other one that we came across as a pretty big challenge for frontline workers is manual task management. So being able to manage and track tasks in particular over multiple locations, multiple teams, multiple shifts. Remember, frontline workers are often working in shifts. So I might be picking up a project, and then when my shift ends, Minerva could be coming in and picking up where I left off. So that manual process could be quite cumbersome. Limited visibility into the workload and assignments. If they've only got what's in front of them, right? It can be difficult to know the full scope. And then tracking task status and completion. If it's all hard copy and all paper, your ability to know where a project is depends on your ability to have those sort of paper notes in front of you. And I mean, any notes, right? Even in the digital space. So how's Teams going to help with that? We have tools that can be integrated within Teams and are integrated within Teams that are going to help from the top down, whether it's headquarters distributing tasks, managers creating, sorting, and distributing tasks, and frontline workers accessing and tracking those tasks. We have tools like the Tasks tool or Planner that are going to enable us to create a digital space where we're able to identify and track and complete tasks for whatever work we have. So those frontline workers no longer have to try to track down where the current project is, find a foreman, you have on that phone or mobile device the frontline workers carrying around or accessing their company resources from. They can track the tasks that their managers have assigned to them, and they can update with notes. They can add attachments, so they could take those images and add them to projects. And those tasks can be sort of marked by a couple of different in a couple different categories, such as urgent and things like that. That task progress can be monitored in real time. Again, from people all the way up at the headquarters level down to our managers, they can go in and track using those same tools, whether it's tasks or planner, if tasks are being completed, if they're being completed on time, if there's any particular worker that's been assigned tasks who's maybe falling behind. And that's going to let you be proactive to then connect with that frontline worker to be able to make sure that they have everything they need to complete their tasks. So all of these task tracking tools, again, being unified within teams. So we talked earlier about frontline workers having to utilize a whole bunch of different devices or a whole bunch of different systems just to perform their task. Now, all of the stuff that we've been through so far is all being accessed from one location, which is Microsoft Teams. And so when we have managers that need to create more specific or more complex tasks, that's also doable within Microsoft Tasks or within Planner. This is just a little snip of an example, but you can go in and assign tasks to one or multiple people. You can change the priority of those tasks, adding a checklist to a task if there's multiple steps before a task can be completed, as well as notes so someone can review any particular notes about that project. You can attach files. There's also comments that we can't see in the image here, but you can add comments to, add progress as the task is moving along. And then once it's done, you can make sure that it's completed. Tasks that are completed can also be reviewed, so that way the manager can stay on top of when tasks are being completed and if there were any sort of notes for that completion. And circling back to the frontline workers here, it's making it more straightforward for them, where they know all of the tasks that their team are working on. They can see all of the tasks that have been assigned to them. They can go in and really drill down on a specific task and see all the details. And they can add that rich content to a task, like photos that they take using the smart camera, or if there's a Word document in their OneDrive that they need to attach, like a signed contract, for example. That can all be added into the task to keep all of that information centralized in one location, making it straightforward. Then we have another tool that can help us with task management and process management, helping with alleviating those manual processes, and that's the approvals application. So within Teams, managers can create custom approvals or use approval templates to be able to create this system where their frontline workers can go in and submit for approvals, and the approving manager can then approve those all within this tool. So without having to hunt someone down in person and ask them about a project to sign for it, you could submit these approvals digitally and get everything done much quicker, asynchronously, which is also something that we talk about when talking about the sort of hybrid work scenario, being able to work at different times. So if my manager and I work opposite shifts and I need to get an approval to be able to move to the next step of the project, I can submit that approval here in Teams. My manager comes in and makes that approval. When I come back for my next shift, I know that it's been approved and I can pick up where I left off. So to summarize our Teams assistance in manual processes, specifically around task management, we're able to reimagine the distribution of tasks all the way from headquarters to frontline workers, and be able to monitor that task's progress in real time with Tasks in Planner. We can streamline how managers create and assign those tasks. They're able to completely manage those planners or task lists as they need, and make tasks for workers straightforward, all of the information that they need, all in one location, and even adding an approvals process to make sure that approvals can be submitted and approved quickly in a streamlined way without having to add an additional system. So now I'm going to hand it back over to Minerva, and Minerva is going to talk about some of the other challenges that we face with employee engagement and ineffective onboarding.
Perfect. Thanks again, Harry. So I know that we're sitting here and we're talking about, or I am mostly talking about the challenges and opportunities that, we're facing with our frontline workers. But I do want us to see, like, how can we go back and correct the experience, that employee experience that a lot of organizations are now putting at their #1 top priority. So those challenges are the poor employee engagement and inefficient onboarding. We see there's a lack of employee engagement that leads to high turnover. We tend to see lost productivity, and there's a stagnant in skill sets. And we know when that happens, that the retention is going to definitely go down. 75% of organizations lack an engagement strategy. And overcoming that challenge is difficult without easy ways to interact and share information across your organization. Now, I am going to share a couple more statistics with you. That's coming from Smart, the Muse, and also from Forbes. Companies with a thriving culture that includes value in employees have 4 times the revenue of companies that don't. Highly engaged employees are 87% less likely to quit compared to disengaged employees. Now, 1 in 3 employees quit their jobs over boredom. Only 25% of those employers have an active engagement strategy. Companies with a high employment engagement are 21% more profitable, and employees in the US lose more than $5,000 every time an employee leaves the company. And again, that's an average depending on your organization. Companies that rank amongst the top 20% of those companies with the highest engagement rate experience a 59% reduction in employee turnover and 41% absentees. And that's huge. And again, I know we're looking at, these are the challenges that our frontline workers are facing, but we have great tools that we're able to utilize to help with these statistics and to put the employee experience as our top priority. Now, we talked about, accelerating onboarding. We want to be able to provide easy content and communities for job-related content and expertise to quickly onboard our employees. Now, we're delivering role-based content such as instruction videos, best practice, and live instructions on Teams. We want to promote micro-learning by sharing best practices between novice and new employees by creating open digital workspaces. And the ways that we're able to do this, that we can share, we're able to keep files, including all those best practices that we're talking about, up to date in a single platform that everyone can go and find. There's a single source by using SharePoint within Teams. We want to help employees build skills faster by making training information and including those videos easily accessible from almost anywhere, any device, any location. And then again, it's all going to be in one platform. And by using Stream, we're able to do this within our teams. Now, the other thing that when we're talking about our employee experience and helping our team to have a great workspace, we want to give everyone a voice. Keep your frontline teams engaged. We want them to be up to date by creating specialized groups and creating onboard communities within our teams for engaging your frontline workforce and to help focus on your employees' experience. And again, put in that top priority to not only help your team, but also to help your organization be that workforce that's going to be #1. Now, a lot of organizations have moved to a hybrid work environment, and we know that in the last 2 years, this happened due to some crisis. But I think that in these organizations, we realize that we need to have a better way of connecting across our organization. And this does include our frontline workers. So there's a much larger need to build that deeper connection and utilizing Teams' different meeting environments. Microsoft Teams has Teams meetings, what we're currently in. You create in Teams webinars. We have live events and on-demand events, like for all hands meetings. This is going to help meet workers in all the locations at any time and on any device that they're on. And this is going to improve that communication and alignment, again, regardless of location and where they're at, with company-wide information, giving out goals, and making sure everyone has the correct policies in place to do their job properly. Now, collecting customer and employee feedback real time. This is important, right? We want to hear, again, that voice piece and also get information for us to be more productive and be more efficient. You know, collecting that real-time feedback from both, not only just the customer, but our employees as well. We can use Frontline Workforce to predict customer trends and demands. We can learn how to, better our training and onboarding, and also material that is landed within our workforce is going to be precise and consistent. Your frontline workers are going to be your biggest assets, and your success depends on their job satisfaction and talent. With Teams, you can create a community hub to engage employees, improve transparency, and build skills. Use the Teams platform to connect workers to business goals, values, and each other to align around and achieve your mission. Create spaces where your workforce can ask questions and share ideas and feedback. And again, to mention some of those tools again that help us to give the right tools to our employees, utilizing our Teams channels, having live stream and town halls, those different meeting environments. We want to be able to give praise to our teams, at the right moment, at the right time, and to the right person. The surveys and feedbacks, being able to communicate with those all hands, crisis comms, or, all hands communication with the company communicator. And just coming soon, we're not going to be talking about this, but Viva, that's also going to be another source that we are going to have available for our employees. Now, again, going and continuing and looking at really what's important to our organizations, and what we see are those opportunities. We see that there's challenges with security and compliance, difficult ensuring data stays secure and protected, even in mobile environments. Again, that's our frontline workers, keeping information secure. We're all using different devices, and without slowing the frontline productivity, because the more that they have access to, the more that they're able to do their job more efficiently and also feel included with the rest of the organization. And then staying compliant with regulations for labor, data security, and privacy. Now, as an organization, we all worry about, are we compliant? That's one of the number one things that, I know IT's thinking about, finance, everybody's thinking about. So help keep content and conversations secure and compliant. Utilize private channels and teams to help, or to have those confidential conversations on specific topics with the right individuals. You're going to have that enterprise level security that enforces policies to protect privacy and data, and by storing content on your teams and not on local devices. One of the examples that we saw that Harry was showing us was that smart camera. When you utilize that smart camera and you take that picture, it's not saving on that local device. It's going within the Teams platform with their security built in. Now, we also want to look, how are we able to, enable secure, low friction experiences, right? We don't want to compromise security. We want to simplify access to apps and information with quick, secure sign-in, which is going to include on shared devices. And I think that's the biggest piece, right? Frontline workers are working sometimes with multiple individuals on same devices. So there is a shared device mode, and that's going to allow those frontline workers to share device signouts, which is going to enable easy logout of all the Microsoft 365 and custom apps and browser sessions with one click. And coming soon, there is going to be a sign-in effortless with your phone number. So we're trying to, again, make it very seamless and simple for our frontline workers. Now, continuing looking at compliance and regulatory, with off-shift access controls, IT administrators can now configure Teams to alert employees when they are accessing the app on their personal device outside of work hours. Not only is this for compliance, but this is also going to affect that employee experience and making sure that they're giving them that time of rest. Also, when we look at this, Microsoft has demonstrated global compliance leadership, with HIPAA, with GDPR, and several more. And also Microsoft has 35 plus industry specific compliance offerings. And again, this is going to be what's best for you and your organization. Now, moving forward, we know you want to ensure there's a smooth and compliant shifts operation, and you can do this with audit logs for shifts. So the audit logs for shift, this is going to provide IT admins a unified view. It's also going to surge functionality to help monitor and keep track of activities. And you will also be able to stay on top of employees' clock in and out. And we all know making edits to shifts is critical to ensure smooth and compliant operations. And it's just going to keep it seamless from individuals that are partaking in doing the shifts. Now, again, looking at the safeguard teamwork, built and security, we want to help keep teamwork safe and compliant across your organization. Give employees a better access to apps and information with a frictionless experience without compromising security. And to name a few of, that built-in security that you have and can utilize, again, starting with the number one, our Teams platform, utilizing all of this information inside of that one platform. We also have modern device management, Intunes, that's going to help with that security, Azure Active Directory, and data loss prevention tools. Now, I know that Harry's probably about to end this, but he has one more thing that he's going to introduce to us. Back to you, Harry.
Yeah, thanks, Minerva. I do just want to loop back really quickly and kind of recap the frontline worker experience that we went through. So we talked about the challenges that we were finding in these different areas. And these were the Teams solutions that create that frontline worker experience, connecting the workforce, digitizing shift management and time tracking, automating task management and processes, activating and engaging the community, and building a configurable role-based user experience, all making sure that we're staying safe and compliant within Microsoft Teams. Now, I am going to switch over to a video that I want to show. This is a video put together by a couple of our colleagues a little while ago, and this is going to just sort of walk through some examples of using these frontline worker scenarios within Teams. There is some music to it, but there's no voice, so if you don't hear a voice talking, that's okay. And also let me know if the music is too loud, because it might come through a little bit loud. But let's go ahead and just take a look at this video, and then we've got just a little bit of wrap up, and then we're done.
Harry, there's no audio.
Yeah, I was just seeing that message come through. Computer audio is being shared. Let's go to watch this on YouTube and see if that helps.
Everyone loves spreadsheets. Actually, they don't. But check this out. Okay, Monday.com gets...
How's that? Again, it's just music.
No, it's just very faint. I think it just might be the source it's coming from.
I've got an even better idea. So instead of the music, I'll just kind of narrate over this. That way there's some audio you guys are hearing because there's not really a not really any audio going to it anyway. So right now they're looking at a feedback survey created in Microsoft Forms that was accessible through their sort of SharePoint hub. And now moving over into the chats, we've got meeting chats available as well as one-on-one private chats and group chats. And we're able to target communication to our users using things like Company Communicator, where we can send communications out to individuals within chats. It's great because it creates this consistent communication format, and the persistent history allows people to go back and review previous messages all from this location. Company Communicator can also send messages out to channels as well. We can go into these conversations, such as our conversation with the communicator bot, and pin it. That way it's going to make that communicator bot or any conversation easy for us to find at the top. Going into meetings or in the calendar, we've got the ability to join meetings with just one click, and we've got full audio integration there. We've got the shifts application within Teams where we can keep track of those shifts and swap shifts with our colleagues as needed, or we can offer a shift as an available shift for people to take. We can also look at open shifts and see if there are any open shifts that we can pick up if we need to pick up any shifts. Of course, you can request it and then it gets approved as pickup. Going down to our teams, we can see the shifts for our team. So my shifts, or I can see the shifts for my teams. We've got the AM shift and the PM shift here, and we can see who's working on that shift, which could help us plan if we need to connect with anybody. And those groups can be created by your organization to fit your organization. Clock in and clock out can be done from the shifts application as well, right from one of those smartphones or mobile devices. So you can clock in, take your breaks, and clock out, which will then be tracked to the shifts application. So we're going to show clicking and holding to go on break, and it'll switch the timer over to our break. And then once we're done there, we can stop our break, and it will resume our shift. You can see at the top that we are part of the mainline crew as well. And when we're ready to clock out, we just press and hold on the clock out, and that will end our shift for the day. Give us a shift confirmation, which if there's any edits that need to be made, we could go in there and edit, which will then go to our admins to sort of approve those edits. Up in the top right, we've got our plus sign where we can set availability, offer shifts, request time off, add additional shifts as well, depending on our privileges within shifts. But here we're requesting time off for vacation. And we're going to go ahead and choose our dates. which looks like it's just the 24th of January. And we can add an optional reason if needed. If not, we can just click done to send that request. This is showing our walkie-talkie within Teams. So we've got the ability to select channels to communicate with our team. And walkie-talkie allows us to have that quick communication that's secure. And like Minerva mentioned earlier, these are done through channels. So we're currently in the day of race communications. And anyone listening on the channel can respond to that communication. So it can be, through multiple people. Push to talk, just like any regular walkie-talkie. And this is going to be going over Wi-Fi or cellular data, so you don't have to worry about the limited range of radios. We've got plenty of other applications as well within Teams. So if we're, trying to find files, approvals that I mentioned earlier, we're accessing OneDrive files right now. So you can quickly pop in and look at training materials. Going into the approvals application now. And other Microsoft 365 apps like Planner, which is the task tracking app we were talking about earlier. We've got low-code, no-code Power Apps that can be integrated into the Teams platform, which can serve virtually any purpose as long as you have the ability to develop it within the Power Platform. This one we're looking at right now is a procedures digital binder. Cool. And we can connect in those Power Apps to document repositories within SharePoint, as well as lists within SharePoint. And we're just going in and editing a field within our application right now and viewing a document, which is going to take us to that document within SharePoint. All of that being viewed on a mobile device. And this is an attestation tool saying that I have attested to reading this procedure. So that's going to be tracked on a list on the back end. So now we can see that it's confirmed that I have reviewed that procedure. And we're going to go back to Teams. Go to our procedures channel. Looking in more, and there's our Power App, which has been added to the top of that procedures channel. So it's easy for people to access when they're looking for those procedure documents. All within Teams. And that just about wraps it up. So we will go ahead and drop the link for that video into the chat as well, just for people that want to. It looks like Minerva already did. Great. So that way you guys can go back and review that video if you want to. But that is really everything that we wanted to go through today. I want to just say thank you for taking the time to join us, to look at how Teams can help enable frontline workers. I want to encourage you, if you have any questions about utilizing any of these tools, reach out to your customer success manager that supports the state that you are in, and they'll be more than happy to talk to you in more detail about these features, when they're available, what's it gonna take to get them set up, talking a little bit more about specific scenarios. Those customer success managers are going to be your best point of contact for that. So we do have sort of a couple minutes. Minerva, were there any questions that you saw in the chat that I could answer or that I need to answer?
Yes, there was one question and Stacy actually already answered it, but we'll just say it out loud. So when is walkie-talkie feature available in tenants? It actually is available right now in most, you just have to go and enable this in your Teams admin center. So again, if you do have any questions on enabling or looking at any of these features that we showed today, please partner with one of your Microsoft account team members, your customer success manager, and we'll be able to lead you in the right direction and getting this started for your frontline workers.
Great, thanks. And as Stacy said, it is currently released for iOS and Android and available in Government Cloud today. Any other questions?
I don't see any right now, but we can definitely stay on a few minutes if something does pop up.
Yeah, and a reminder that this has been recorded and we will send out a link to the recording in the same way that the invite was sent out, through your customer success managers and through the customer success account managers, so that you guys can rewatch this or share it with folks that you think may find this information valuable.
Yeah. And again, this was just, an overview that we wanted to do to let individuals and organizations learn more about frontline workers. We will be putting on more calls where we're diving into these specific features. So stay tuned with that.
Yep, those are going to come up over the next several months, over this next sort of fiscal year, where, like Minerva said, we'll dive in a little bit deeper on how to use those actual features and maybe some of the details on what it takes to get them set up. Great. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate you coming, and we'll see you at the next call, hopefully.